Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to In-Depth Perceptions. I'm your host, Nathan Riva, and I want to talk to you today about the act of self-governance. And I want to talk to you about this in the wake of the elections that just took place in the United States, the midterm elections. And now that the hype has died down, now that the propaganda has subsided a bit, I want to come at this from a calm, balanced, and rational stance, because I think it's a very important topic we need to discuss. Because after watching a little bit of the highlights after the election of Ted Cruz speaking and Nancy Pelosi speaking, it just reeks of clown-like and actor-like behavior. It reeks of sociopathic and pathological liars. It reeks of just a complete, absolute circus. And I think we really need to start pulling away from this clown show, this circus that they run every 4 years, and the midterm elections that they run. And that's just not for the United States, too. This includes my country of birth, which is Canada, includes Europe. These are all elections are just seem so phony, seem so staged. So I think the topic of self-governance and the act of abstaining from voting is a very important one to discuss. Excuse me. And I think if we want to discuss this in any sort of depth or detail, we have to really break the act of self-governance down to the individual level. Like, let's not worry about what the government is doing to us in terms of trying to govern us. Let's break this way down to what it really means to self-govern yourself. Now, by definition and just at face value, it looks very self-explanatory. The act of governing yourself, well, I'm going to govern myself. I'm going to make my own decisions. And as we continue to grow and expand our awareness, I know in my personal life, the more I realized, or the more conscious I feel like I've become, the more I have realized that I wasn't governing myself at all. Not in the least. I thought I was governing myself. I thought I made my own decisions. I thought I was doing what was right or what I was supposed to do. And at the surface level, it would seem most people would agree that they govern themselves. But when you really go look deep, are you actually governing yourself? Ask yourself the question. Are you doing what you want? Are you in full control of yourself? Or are there certain programs? Is there certain mind patterns? Is there certain things that have happened to you in your past that you haven't been able to let go of yet? They're actually governing you, actually steering your life in certain directions. Because this is what I think really needs to be talked about, because we can harp on the government all day long, and I'll do that all day. I can do that all day, but there's a certain point where it runs contrary to what we're trying to achieve, which is expanded awareness, expanded consciousness. So in order to self-govern ourselves, the first thing we need to do is take full responsibility for our own actions. Most people are sitting in life situations right now where even in this alternative community where people are awake and privy to what's going on in higher echelons of society and how things are running, but I still feel like most people on this planet, we are damaged. We've come out of the womb. We've been raised in this system. We've gone through government indoctrination camps. We've had our own personal tragedies and things that we've had to deal with, and now people are filtering up through this system and not knowing what to do, and just voting or pointing the finger at the government and pointing the finger at other people, and really not being able to do anything, because the act of self-governance hasn't fully emerged yet for most people, because unconsciousness still runs so rampant. Most people are still attached to their mind and believe that their thought patterns and their mental processes are who they are. So it's very easy to condition a mind, which is what our system knows so well to do, because they know the mind is nothing but a tool that's a part of this vessel. And it's very easily conditioned to only see the world through certain perceptions, to project fear onto that, to make the mind and the vessel feel fear, feel these negative emotions. So, and it's not just a system that does that. It could be our parents. It could be people that we've met in society. It could be ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends. We're all living sentient beings that have had nothing but experiences foisted onto us, whether we've chosen those experiences or not. They've shaped who we are. Now, the act of self-governance is really going deep within yourself and seeing that you are not the conditioned mind patterns that you experience. You are not the victim that you thought you were. You are not all these images, conceptualized images in your head. What you are is something far beyond that. We can talk about vibrations or frequencies, but the idea that you are not just this vessel, you're something that's coming through it is very prevalent for me anyways, and understanding what true self-governance is. It's understanding that you create your own reality with your thoughts, your intentions, your emotions. And if you can peel back all the layers of yourself and realize the different programs that you've been operating on and why you've been operating on those programs, then you can start to release those programs from yourself, release those programs from your consciousness, and start the act of self-governance. It's like being reborn and starting anew and starting fresh when you do this. And it's a beautiful thing. But in order to do that, in order to truly self-govern, it goes back to taking responsibility for our own actions and realizing that whatever victimization that you want to play, it doesn't hold any merit after a certain point. Even severely traumatized people who have been through absolutely horrendous things, who need love, empathy, and compassion extended to them, after a certain point of their healing process, if they are in fact trying to heal themselves, they have to make a conscious choice, whether that their past, those horrific things that happened to them in the past, is going to affect their state of being right now in this present moment. Because that's all we really have, is the now and the present moment. The past doesn't exist and the future doesn't exist. It only can exist up here, and what we let the mind do to us by thinking about things that have happened to us, to holding on to these certain pains and these energies that that have affected us our entire life. The moment we start letting that just slip away and making a conscious effort and expanding our consciousness beyond these repetitive mind cycles, beyond these repetitive mind thoughts of maybe they're self-destruction, maybe they're very they could be anything. They can be damaging in so many different ways. But the moment that you start realizing that you are not your thoughts and you're not what your mind is telling you, and you can start peeling back and observing your minds and observing your thought patterns, then you can start to toss away the programming that you don't want, and you can start to recondition your mind to what you want. And when we start doing that, the true act of self-governance comes in. Then nobody is telling you what to do. Nobody has conditioned you to get a certain reaction out of you after a certain, if something happens, a certain stimuli happens and you get a reaction. It's like pressing buttons on people. The buttons don't work anymore once you become and you expand past this. And this is what we have to do, not only individually, but collectively. So society can't be stimulated with fear, can't be stimulated by events by 9/11, because 9/11, if you want to look at 9/11 was an event, that was a major button of fear that was pushed, and poof, it got a insane reaction. The buttons that Donald Trump pushes all the time, it gets reactions from the left. The buttons that the left push, they get reactions from the right. And these are all mind patterns and thoughts. And the thoughts create your actions and reactions. So it's really stepping back and getting out of that and getting into who you are, which is your true self. Your true self is not up here. Your true self is in your heart and much, much greater. It's something that we can't conceptualize or something that I can't explain to you in great detail where it's going to be like, oh, yes, now I can picture my true self. Your true self is beyond that. Your true self is beyond mind. So in order to self-govern and the act of abstaining from voting, it really does require going deep within yourself and realizing how you've come to this certain situation in your life and how you're at this point in your life and what happened to you and what you've done, and taking responsibility and owning up to your past mistakes, owning up to whatever you did that was maybe, I don't want to say wrong, because nothing's really right or wrong. The universe doesn't, I don't think, really care. The universe is consciousness, nothing but. Everything is allowed. So your past mistakes, or what you view as your past mistakes, aren't mistakes, are in fact stepping stones that you've had to use to get to where you are right now. And when you start having these types of viewpoints, and this is your perception on life, things will start to change. The act of self-governance becomes more voluntary instead of involuntary, instead of just following these unconscious mind patterns and programs. And again, these programs don't just come from the television. They just don't come from TV, religion, the way your parents have indoctrinated you, siblings, spouses, work. They can come from almost anywhere. So there is a lot of unconsciousness on the planet right now. But in order to really beat this system, we do have to elevate our own awareness past it. Because there's a lot of people out there that would say, well, we need the government. Some people need to be governed. And my response to that would be, are you fully in control of your life, and are you governing yourself? Because don't worry about anybody else. Don't worry about the larger picture. We have to worry about our individual contributions first and how we are as individuals. How's your individual state of being? Are you at peace with yourself? Are you at harmony with yourself? Or are you filled with anxiety? Are you filled with fear? Are you filled with doubt? Are you filled with resentment? All these types of emotions create certain types of thought patterns and mind processes. Those types of emotions we need to allow them, understand where they come from, and then watch them pass. Allow space for them, and allow new emotions to come in, like love, empathy, compassion, excitement, joy. These emotions are true emotions. These emotions will allow you to govern yourself. These emotions, I feel, represent the ultimate pinnacle of what I think humans are here on the planet for, which is to be fulfilled and to be joyful. That doesn't mean that life is not going to throw you curveballs and there isn't going to be suffering, but being aware of where these mind patterns and these thoughts come from is so key, because once that happens, then people, I think, really will start to realize that they do not need a centralized bureaucracy telling them what to do, telling them what to think, telling them what they can or can't put in their bodies. People can make more rational, more clear, more conscious decisions. There won't be this need for this encroachment on everybody's being, which is what I think is going on right now at a massive level. Government is in our life everywhere we look. I'm sitting in Ecuador right now because I, to be honest, cannot stand the socialist style government that we have in Canada, and how it's impossible to do anything. You're taxed everywhere you look. Prices for things are outrageous. The currency has been inflated so much. So I could ramble on for days about that, but probably will run contrary at some point to what I'm trying to do, because I don't want to point the fingers at the government. I don't want to point fingers at other people. And there has to be an acceptance of what is, an acceptance of this is how things are, But if you really want to make a difference, it's not going to be through the system. It's going to be aligning yourself with your truth, whatever you determine that to be, and then following it to wherever it takes you. And right now I'm in Ecuador, and I plan on making more videos as to why I'm really here, but I'll let things unfold as they may. So I think that's basically all I want to talk to you about today, but I just want to reiterate some of my points. Self-governance and the act of abstaining from voting at the surface may not seem very deep, but when you really look at it from an in-depth perception, you start to see, okay, the act of self-governance is a huge, huge step that if you want to expand your awareness and you want to continue on a path of consciousness, self-governing yourself is going to take a lot of work and a lot of in-depth looking at yourself and uncovering what has made you the person that you are today, and are you okay with who you are, or is there more? Can you be more? Can your awareness expand even more? I say that it can, and I would ask you the question: are you satisfied with where you're at right now? Because if you're not, there's no reason why you can't grow beyond it. And I don't mean satisfied in a term of material well-being or material abundance. I mean, are you satisfied with your state of being? Are you at peace and in harmony with yourself? Because if you're not, there are ways that you can get there. And self-governance and taking responsibility for your own actions is a path that I highly recommend, because it is truly rewarding and truly fulfilling. And when you start answering to that, answering to your own self-governance, you really do realize that we do not need the system. No matter how many people will sit there and tell you, I don't care, like, we need the government, we need the roads, there are people that are bad and we need to lock them up in prisons. No, I totally refuse, because if you can just control your own state of being individually and govern yourself, that's going to affect the next person. And that may just make that next person next to you do the same thing, and then that next person next to him, and then that next person, and then there's a chain reaction, and the whole elevation of consciousness rises. So the act of self-governance and abstaining from voting, in my opinion, runs very deep, but is so important. It's not just, oh, I'm not going to vote, hell with the government. Yes, that's one thing, the hell with the government, I'm not going to vote. But what is true self-governance? I think this video at least I think the video that I just made here tries to explain it at a deeper level. So I hope you liked the video. I hope some of it resonated with you. Please leave comments in the comment sections. Please like and share the video. I really do feel that this type of material needs to get into the public realm more and more, because the things that are coming aren't good, and we need to heal ourselves first, and then society can then follow. So I'm Nathan Riva, and this is In-Depth Perceptions. Take care, everybody.